Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Evangelical Alliance Ireland. I'm Alan McElwee with Christians Against Poverty, or CAP for short. We've been working through local church partners across the country, offering money coaching as a way of empowering people in churches and communities to get a better grip of their budgeting and money management. It's very practical work, as many participants coming along to money coaching courses can lack confidence, struggle to make ends meet regardless of their level of household income, sometimes feeling the shame and stigma of not handling their resources well. Poverty is a complex issue, comes in many forms. Many of us have not had the benefit of growing up in a family, maybe learning how to handle money well. We may struggle with our perception of ourselves, but poverty can also be systemic, like consumerism. So whether it's Black Friday overspending at Christmas time or just losing the run of ourselves. However, Jesus is at the very center of how we seek to engage and respond to poverty. He's our lead in responding with compassion and in restoring dignity. A good example of which is in the Gospel of Mark in chapter 8, where Jesus feeds the 4,000 who had gathered to hear him and had been listening to Jesus' teachings for about 3 days. They had not had anything to eat, and it says in verse 1 that he had compassion for them. Jesus appears to preempt what his disciples might say about this in verse 3, as Jesus adds, "If I send them home hungry, on the way they will collapse." However, Jesus' disciples are still only thinking in practical terms as they reply to him with, "Where in this remote and desolate place will we get enough to feed them?" But Jesus is undeterred and asks, "How many loaves have you?" To which they reply, 7. Jesus then blesses these 7 loaves and he miraculously manages to feed everybody. It also says that several small fish were multiplied, concluding with the words, "They ate and were satisfied." There are 2 things I immediately see from this gospel story of Jesus. Firstly, Jesus shows compassion for the multitudes and those in need. He is not cold or uncaring in the sight of such basic needs. He is not disempowered or overwhelmed by such great personal need. Instead, he is the one who can provide for all of our needs. Secondly, Jesus responds completely. No matter how desolate or desperate our circumstances may appear, we can still look to Jesus and his church for a complete or full response to our basic needs. To us, it may appear like we do not have much, but in God's economy, there is an abundance, even to the point where he can give beyond what we need. In the Gospel of John, and especially chapter 6, Jesus is declared as the bread of life. Several times, Jesus declares himself as the bread of life and the living bread of heaven. His provision is not of this world, but of his world. And he is able to sustain us completely, that is, forever. Sometimes we can be so focused on the practical, the here and now of our circumstances, that we can overlook the future, even the eternal. But in Jesus, we find both the immediate felt needs as well as the unfelt needs, our eternal needs, including the things we don't even know we need. So this is the work of the gospel, and so therefore CAP, addressing the whole person with the whole gospel. Thank you for listening in, and join us tomorrow for another message, this time of a lapsed Jew who's radically changed and transformed by his encounter with Jesus, as the whole gospel is applied to the whole person. Thank you.